I will just, in the first part of this webinar, will describe the different models and different existing models of cooperation between social business and traditional ones. And then we will go to the specific tool, which is value proposition canvas, according to which we can define what kind of value we can create for business. And then we will just see how to start the cooperation with traditional business. Just a second. There are actually different kinds and different forms of cooperation between a social business and traditional business. And the first question is, why do we need such cooperation? What are the motives? What are the key important reasons to cooperate? And from the side of, yeah, now I have the access to share my screen. Okay. The first question is, what are the reasons? What are the motives from the side of social entrepreneurs? Why do the social entrepreneurs want to have business on board? And what would be the reasons of traditional business, the for-profit business? Why would they be interested in cooperation with social economy enterprises, or as we call social enterprises? In terms of the reasons and the motives, what the social entrepreneurs would like to receive from a traditional business, the big survey, which was done by the EU, and here are some extracts from the final report of the social business initiatives, which was done in 2019. According to the survey, according to the report, the main important reasons from the side of social entrepreneurs was to get access to funding and financial opportunities. So many social entrepreneurs see the traditional business as the prospective source of getting funding and additional financial resources to their businesses in different forms. Mostly, the most common type, it's a kind of grant for business development or financing some part of some activity or social enterprise. The second reason was from the side of social enterprises is to access networks and contacts. Among the reasons also is sharing risks and reducing costs, accessing new skills, strategic support, and partners' expertise. There is also increasing organizational efficiency or professionalism. Social enterprises are also interested in receiving mentoring, coaching, or advising. So some the staff members of the traditional companies from different departments can be as a kind of mentors or trainers for social enterprises, let's say in terms of marketing, sales, different financial management staff, and so on. What would be the reasons from the side of traditional business, why, in what they would be interested? And the owners or the CEOs of big companies during the research reported that the main reasons for them would be acquiring or giving more visibility to their social actions. So actually the companies are interested in getting the image of social responsible company. Another option, which is quite interesting, maybe it sounds not really positive, but is achieving the social washing. What the social washing is. We know the term of greenwashing is like when companies or organizations doing different stuff in order to have an image, a kind of ecological, eco-friendly company. The term social washing means basically the same. When the company, which is not really socially oriented, wants to have an image of social oriented. That's why different companies can see social entrepreneurs as a good instrument to get the image of social responsible company. Among the reasons from the side of traditional business are also accessing networks and contacts, accessing skills, strategic support and expertise in social sectors. There is also possibility through social networks and the beneficiaries of social enterprises to get the access to a broader market or better reach target beneficiaries. And there are a couple of other reasons from the side of traditional business. So we see that social entrepreneurs and traditional for-profit oriented entrepreneurs actually have the reasons for mutual cooperation. In my next slide, I will just leave it to you afterwards because the presentation can be shared among all of you. There are different levels of cooperation between the social entrepreneurship, between the social enterprises and traditional businesses. It depends on interests, it depends on aims, and it depends on the mission and the goals of the traditional businesses and social enterprises and so on. But what is more interesting is the next slide. This is the information from the same survey of the EU, from the report of Social Business Initiative. What are kind of the main barriers, or what are the important factors that hinder cooperation? And on the top, the first factor that can be seen as a kind of a barrier is the lack or imbalance of resources. And the second, which is really interesting, is the problem of communication. So actually, even there is an interest from both sides, from the social enterprise and the business company for mutual cooperation, they communicate in different languages. And actually, because business has its own goals, its own mission, its own tasks, and the social enterprise the same. Just the social entrepreneurs think mostly in their area, and because of lack of understanding, lack of communication, the absence of common understanding, the common sense leads to actually the failed relationships and the failed partnerships. On the next slides, I will just go through different working models of existing cooperation between social entrepreneurs and the traditional business. And the most popular one, it's a kind of the international perspective, mostly across Europe, but the situation on the American continent or Australia is actually the same. One of the most common model of how social and commercial businesses can cooperate, it's about integration of social entrepreneurship in the production process and the value chain of traditional business. On the one hand, such a cooperation can be seen in just involvement by traditional company, the local small social enterprise as the supplier. So social enterprises can be suppliers of different resources. It could be anything, electronic, metal, textile, or any other company, a traditional company, to make their final product. Even in some cases, social enterprises can also produce the ready finished products by themselves as a subcontractor. How can it look like? For instance, if you have, let's say, the mass market CNA. Yeah, we just go into shop and we see different type of clothes. And for instance, we want to buy some dress or t-shirt, and we see the label CNA. But in fact, it could be sued and by any local small social enterprise who just put the label CNA. So actually, local social enterprises, the small-sized enterprises could be the suppliers of some resources or the ready products. The traditional companies can also collaborate with social enterprises as the part of their value chain, which is called the kind of integrated partnerships. So, for instance, there is the big retailer, the big network of shop, one brand, and the traditional company can implement the retail shop under its brand, and the social entrepreneurs can run this shop. So actually, social enterprise could be a franchisee of the big company, but actually in this particular local shop, among the staff could be people with disabilities or any other marginalized groups. Another form of such integrated partnerships, it can be even co-creation, like the common creation of the common product by two brands. And one of my favorite examples in that regard would be the cooperation. I would say that this is a kind of strategic cooperation between one of the famous social enterprise, which is Grameen Bank, and the company Danone. So we probably know the Danone company. This is the brand that produces different milk products, yogurts, cheese, and so on, like for a daily usage, and for different ages, for kids, for adults, and so on. And the Grameen Bank, I assume that we also know what the Grameen Bank is, but just a couple of sentences. So this is the social enterprise which was born in Bangladesh by the Nobel Prize winner Muhammad Yunus, with the idea of giving microcredits for the poorest of the poor inhabitants of Bangladesh. So actually the poor people normally didn't have an access to any banking system, and of course they couldn't pretend to get some credits, to get some loans for their own purposes or to start the business. And the Grameen Bank was the small initiative with the idea of offering the micro grants. Right now, this is the huge company which operates in the dozens countries in the world. But somehow the Grameen Bank founder and the president of Danone met each other, and the new idea for new common brand, which is Grameen Danone Foods, what was created. And the main purpose of this project was to produce the Danone products, especially for the people living in the rural areas in Bangladesh. It was the same high quality product, but for the lower price for the local citizens. And actually it was done by the two companies together, and it was actually co-branded because the new common brand was called Grameen Danone Foods. Like the two big brands connected their efforts and they started to produce a new kind of product. So this is the kind of the example of integrated partnerships of social enterprise and the traditional for-profit company. Social enterprises can support the core business activities of the different traditional firms. So they can be the suppliers, then can be the service providers. It could be kind of the, let's say, there is the small social enterprise that does cleaning services. They can just sell their products to the big companies. So this is a kind of also involvement of the traditional firm, the involvement of the social enterprises to the value chain of the traditional firm. One of also really popular model of cooperation, which is very popular, especially in the Central and Western Europe, it's a kind of work integration. When we have the traditional business company that might employ mostly like different vulnerable categories of people. So one of the example you see on your screens, the Spar market. It was the initiative between the retailer Spar and one of the really famous charitable organizations, Caritas Austria. And it was a common project. So, the Spar, like just a regular shop, and the Caritas Austria, they had and have now as well a small social enterprise, the aim of which is train and giving the professional skills and knowledge for people with disabilities, for migrants and other vulnerable groups. And it was the common initiative between SPAR and Caritas that SPAR employs the beneficiaries of Caritas who like passed the training programs. And actually it's a kind of the combination, and the main value for the Caritas was that they received the possibility to create a full cycle of support for the marginalized groups, that after training, those people can immediately get the job and get the professional experience and so on and so on. There are also a few examples of kind of the hybrid value chains. Here is, as an example, could be a company which is called in French UNV. Sorry for my French, is not really perfect, but the name of the company in English, it sounds like Water and Life. The aim of the company is providing the water across the cities, across the regions, and actually the company operates also in such countries as Philippines, Cote d'Ivoire, and others. And in those countries, the company also do the social kind of social purpose work. The company provides water to different rural communities. So rural is like something like favelas, like very, very poor regions. Of course, the company does it not for free, but we understand that those people living in those areas are not able to pay the full price. So what the company does, the company initiates creating local social enterprises, and those local social enterprises run by the local people invest all the money or all the profit into to cover the expenses for providing water to those rural communities. So this is kind of the hybrid value chain. The new trend of cooperation of traditional companies, the social enterprises, which is called social entrepreneurship. It's about the new startup which is born inside of big company. So imagine that there is the big for-profit company that launches its own social startup. One of the example is one of my favorite ones. This is the project which is called MPESA. This project was born in Kenya a couple of years ago. The idea is like the country is also not among the rich ones, and there are a lot of people with the low income under the poverty line, and of course those categories of people were not allowed to have the bank account and do any financial transactions. So on the local mobile operator, in cooperation with Vodafone, they elaborated. It was firstly just the separate function MPESA. It looked like the mobile app, and thanks to this mobile app, the local people could do different financial transactions. So it's a kind of the beta version of mobile banking. And it became so popular, it was free. You have to pay just your normal payment for the mobile connection. You do not pay extra for using this mobile app. So it was a kind of the new startup, which was free, kind of free banking, but it was simultaneously added value for the local mobile provider, because thanks to this app, the local mobile provider involved more and more clients. So it was a kind of win-win situation when main benefit for the local mobile operator was increasing the number of clients. And actually the poor people, those who were not able to open the bank account, have got access to like financial transactions. So that's a kind of example of social entrepreneurship. One of the most popular, I would say, types of cooperation between social enterprises and traditional companies is the corporate social responsibility initiative. So this is kind of, it's not already new, but very popular trend that's due to the demand of market, demand of the clients. Different companies support in different ways different social initiatives or projects. So under CSR, any company could support any ecological initiative or some social project, etc. And within the CSR, companies are also able to invest or support in different ways the different social enterprises. Such a support could be organized in different way. It could be the pro bono consulting, like the company gives something free of charge, the consultations or mentorship support or something like that. The company can also support different social enterprises by its products. Let's say the possibility, let's say for Microsoft, they can just give the computers or other software to different social enterprises free of charge. Or there is a possibility, and there are many of cases when different companies supported social enterprises financially, like gave grants for their business development instead of investment in some short-term projects. Another possibility, there is the venture capital investment by traditional companies in social enterprises. So actually the main idea of that type of relationships is to show that the big company invest directly money into development of social enterprise. It could be direct investment, like with the company, and the company directly gives money to some social venture. It could be self-managed funds, like almost all the huge transnational companies have their own funds, like you see the IKEA Foundation, Coca-Cola Foundation, etc., etc. So the companies establish their own charitable funds, and those funds do the investment in social enterprises. Or if company just wants to give some money but don't want to be involved in management, the company can just give money to the third party funds, and those funds are doing all the management with giving such kind of social investment. No, actually, those there are many other types of many other examples of support, different models of cooperation between social enterprise, social entrepreneurship, and traditional business. But our main question for today, like we see different examples, and the main question is what to do to establish such a partnership. And here we will put main attention especially to the question of value proposition. So actually in front of you there is the well-known model which is called value proposition canvas model, the aim of which is to show is to help us how to find or how to create the social value or any other value for our partners, for our clients, and in our case for business. So actually normally we use this approach when we design a new product, when we want to test would this product be attractable to our clients or not. But we quite often forget to see we want to have a cooperation with business, and the first step what we should do in order to get the successful result is to see these business companies as our clients. Let's say, imagine that you are a social enterprise and you want to get some short-term support, let's say from Coca-Cola Foundation. And you think that, okay, the Coca-Cola Foundation or the Coca-Cola company probably have some CSR initiatives, and maybe they would be interested to invest in my social enterprise some, I don't know, some portion of money. What we should do next? Of course, the argument that the business must support social enterprises because they are social doesn't work. No one must buy our products because we are social. We have to create the market value. So in order to establish successful cooperation with business, we have first to create the value for business. And for instance, if we want to get some support from the foundation, from different company in terms of CSR, we have to see the CSR department or the CSR manager of that company as our client. And this value proposition canvas corresponds to the jobs to be done approach. So the idea is that our client buy our products or our services in order to satisfy our needs, to solve our problems and to accomplish our jobs. So let's say if you want to receive some support from a CSR, from the CSR department, we have to see the CSR manager as our client. And then let's say, let's think what the regular tasks of the CSR manager could be. What the CSR manager is responsible for in the company. Probably the task of the CSR manager is to find some attractive, popular products. The CSR manager expects to have a fine success story, like at the end. So the aim of the CSR department is to create the socially responsible image to the company. So that's the main task, that's the main job. And actually, if we want to have a successful cooperation with CSR department, we have to create the value for this CSR department. We have to think, do my project, do my business, do this cooperation brings a nice picture, a fine story for that company? If yes, we then can go ahead and we can do some proposal for the company. So actually, the main criteria of successful partnerships is when both companies, when the both parties gain some value. If we create a good value proposition for the CSR department of particular company, we will probably get their support. They will be happy because they can communicate that we support such a perfect social enterprise, and we will be happy because we will get the recognition like, oh, such a big company supported us, or if you wanted to receive some mentorship or pro bono support, we will get it, or maybe some financial support, and so on and so on. So the value proposition is the core thing on the basis of which we can build our partnership. So please refer to this model. So this consists of kind of two parts, and the left part, this is our client profile, and the right part is our client profile. The left part is our value proposition. So in order to design good and effective value proposition, take your client and think, what is your client's main job? What is your client's main tasks he or she have to accomplish on his work position? Then think what kind of pains or problems or any other negative experience your clients might have, and what your clients wants, what gains your clients want to achieve. And if we have a kind of qualitative portrait of your client with its jobs, pains, and gains, then think how my project, how I personally, how my social business can contribute to the client's job. What can I do to kill the pain of my client? And what can I do and what gain I can create for my client? So that's actually the main thing and the main goal of the value proposition. Why it is so important? Because the value proposition is the heart of your whole business model. You are probably familiar with this business model canvas. So this is the kind of the easy model of how your business creates and deliver value to your client. And of course, you as social enterprise definitely know your clients, your buyers who buys your product. But if you want to have the business company on board in different kind of partnership, cooperation, and so on, you have to treat this business, this company, or concrete department of such a company as your client. If you want to get something from business, you must think of what kind of value you will create to business. So, and actually, if you meet the expected value of your client, then actually you will achieve what you want. And in this regard, you have to remember that if you want to make a sustainable partnership, you have to put your partners, you have, of course, in the segment of the key partners, but you also have to treat your partners as clients. So your clients and your partners will stay with you as long as you will create the value for them. If you stop to give some value, then the partnership also will not be prolonged. So actually, the key takeaways of today's webinar would be the three main points. That in order to build a sustainable partnership, the effective partnership, you have to know your needs first. And I will just maybe move to the couple of slides back. Maybe the first task is to go to 3 stages and get the answers to the following question. So before doing any proposal or before any communication with companies, first start with the question why. Why do you need this or that company? Why do you need this or that partnerships? What do you want to achieve? Do you want to achieve visibility? Do you want to get money? Do you want to get recognition? What are your motives? What would you like to get at the end? And only then go to the kind of selection, the prospective partners. So the first question is why. The second question is with whom. So because actually in my practice, quite often different social entrepreneurs comes to me and say, okay, what should I do to get a sustainable partnership with Microsoft? Okay, my question would be, why Microsoft? Because they're a nice, huge company. Why do you want to have especially Microsoft? Because it's Microsoft, so it doesn't work. The first, you have to understand why you need such a partnership, and later on you select the prospective partners. Then the second stage, this is the kind of you designing your value proposition. You have to clarify to yourself how this partnership can look like, what you would like to get, what the geographical scope is. It some local initiative, national, transnational? What would be operational structure, funding structure, and so on. And then you have to have clear vision, what for, what would be the final products, services, activities performed during that partnership. What kind of value you can create to that company and what kind of value you will get from such a partnership. And later on, you can just design the kind of proposition, go to the negotiation process, and so on. So before going directly to different companies and say, okay, I would like to be your partner, go through this question: why, with whom, when, where, how, what for. Design the concrete, attractive value proposition for a company, and then you can go. You can go to the negotiation process. So know your needs first. Remember that the business partner must gain something from this partnership. So you have to be clear what value you will create for business. And finally, remember that the value proposition, first of all, should be the market value. So market value first, and remember that social value is an added value, because we have quite often the temptation to think that our clients must buy our products because we're social, we are like good enterprises. So the reality is that no one must buy your product just because you're social. So the main thing you have to remember before starting to establish some partnership, you think about creating the market value for business. The business have to receive some profit. I will just maybe also come back. It's the more traditional, arguments, traditional interest. If you show the business company that through this partnership, the company will acquire visibility, the company will look more social, the company will get the better access to the market, and so on and so on, then this is the kind of there will be an assurance that this partnership will be successful. So that's from my side, I guess. If there are any questions, any comment now, or maybe you will have them in the future, or you would like to talk a bit more deeply about what kind of cooperation is available for your business, I would be ready to help and to share some ideas, and we can meet and discuss in person. I think there are no questions in chat, and there are not so many of us. We will also make this webinar, the recording, available later on. So you and maybe your colleagues, if you have some, colleagues and those are social entrepreneurs, they can watch the webinar later on, and we can then contact further. And there is also a possibility to get some consultations regarding this topic or regarding the previous topics on impact measurement, or working or possibility of entering the international e-marketplaces like Amazon, Etsy, eBay. You can also reach us, the organizers. These are Ukrainian Social Academy, Social Entrepreneurship Association of Latvia, and Social Entrepreneurship Alliance from Georgia. And we can arrange the consultation with experts on your topic. And also, I highly encourage you to register for our next webinar, which will be held exactly during the next week in the same time, the next Tuesday. And we will talk about social responsible public procurement. So you're kindly invited. Please share information among your colleagues for those who might be interested, and there will be also a possibility to get the consultation after those webinars. So thank you for being with us. Sorry again for the technical troubles we have experienced, and if you have any questions, comments, or if you need any kind of advice, do not hesitate to contact us. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I guess for those participants who attended this webinar, we will share the information, the slides, and we will make accessible the recording of that webinar. Thank you. Wish you good luck